Yes! Break out all the silicone and I put Want to know what's in the package? Stick around. I've ordered a heap of stuff. Hi folks, and welcome to another episode of The Art of Engineering. I've been trying to get a lot of ham radio stuff done, but unfortunately the universe is conspiring against me. Yesterday at school we had character day. We all dress up as staff, as characters, and the year 7s dress up as book characters and game characters, etc, etc. A lot of fun. We got first place in the technology department, and I was dressed as Luigi the plumber, and as coincidence would have it, I'm having to do plumbing now, so the universe is conspiring against any ham radio happening. I've had to look after a leak that's coming out of the wall in my son's bathroom in the studio apartment next door to the shack. So we need to get that sorted out. So I'll be showing you that just in case you're interested. If you're not, fast forward through the home renovation stuff. Don't let it trouble you. I'm also presently waiting for a delivery from QRP Labs, which I'm really excited about. It's always dangerous going to have a look at Hans Summer's site, QRP Labs. The gear is really affordable, very exciting and interesting, and I always ended up buying more than I should. I've purchased 3 prog rocks. Now the reason why I've decided to buy more prog rocks is because the SOTA Monster, I'm trying to make it channelized, but unfortunately that crosstalk, I've tried shielding, I've tried various ways of stopping it from getting into the receiver. It seems to be happening in the actual prog rock itself. Now ideally, if I could switch off channels in the prog rock for transmit and receive, if there's a way of actually having an input to switch on and off various clocks, that would make this device even more amazing than it already is. But it's very small, and he's managed to get so many features into something that's so small. I'm pretty much certain that that's probably an impossibility, but it's $18 to buy. So I bought 2. I'll use one on transmit and one on receive, and I'll just switch them on and off. So I think that will work very nicely. Fingers crossed. By the way, if there's any RF engineers who want to comment below and maybe give me some hints as to how I could do it using the one prog rock and stopping that crosstalk from happening, I'm more than willing to give it a crack. But I'm not an RF engineer. We all know that. I also, while I was on the site, bought myself a QMX. It's there, so I've got myself the kit, and while I was there, I also purchased the QCX Mini. Now I had a QCX Mini for 40 meters, stuffed it up, all my own fault, so I've decided to get one of those as well. So lots of stuff arriving, but the SOTA rig, the SOTA Monster one, I haven't given up on it. There's plans for that coming up, so stick around in the video, I'll show you that. And I also managed to QSO on it as well. Very short QSO, not that successful, but it did get out, and it was receiving and whatnot as well. The actual QSO, I was actually listening on an online SDR radio because I wanted to make sure I was on frequency and that I wasn't interfering with anyone, because I'm still not certain exactly where I am on the receiver, and we don't want to be mucking people around on the bands. Let's go. Last weekend we were busy getting our sauna completed. We still haven't finished the outdoor shower. That's going to be a little while away because we have a leaking shower. Now, I've dug some inspection ports up here, and I'll show you those in a moment. I was worried the pipes were actually leaking into the wall. It's not as bad as I thought. I also thought maybe the waste pipe in the bathtub might be playing up, and that would have been a nightmare because I've sprayed foam under there. I really did test that a lot before I did all that stuff, because I thought I don't want this thing to fail in my lifetime. Did put an inspection port in here in case we had water in the wall, and it was like a small lake under here. Put my hand in here while the shower was on. I could feel dripping happening, and then when the shower was turned off, it would stop dripping. And then I sprayed the shower in the bathtub, and no dripping. So we've decided that it's the waterproofing has failed, and I'm going to show you my bodgy way of fixing it. Fast forward if you don't want to see any more home renovation stuff. Just want to show you why there's no videos happening. This stuff is called shower plug, And if you don't want to rip out all your tiles when a membrane or waterproofing fails in your shower, and you don't have rot in the timber or in the wall and the wall's not moving, this is a way of getting around that problem. I've used it in the past. I can endorse it. I'm not being paid to endorse it, but I can endorse it. It is a lot cheaper than ripping up the entire bathroom. And I was in a place where I'd used it, and it was 15 years later, and we still didn't have a leak. So it works really well if the structure beneath the tiles is still sound. What I've done is I've raked out all the silicone of this professional tiling job. I did all the structure in here, but not the tiling. And in a way, I wish I'd just done the tiling, because I could have done just as crap a job as this guy did. But at any rate, what I'm going to do is I've raked out all the silicone, and I put some grout in here because there isn't a lot of movement in the structure. It's very sturdy, and I'm wanting to put the grout in there because the shower plug will soak into that and do its job. Also on all the joins as well. And then I've left enough space in there to also, once the shower plug, the 2 coats of shower plug goes on and it's dry 12 hours later, I will then silicone as well, just to double down on the waterproofing. And hopefully that will stop the leaking that's happening underneath and is coming out of the wall down here as well. Anyway, let's get back to the ham radio. We've made it to the weekend, but many things have conspired against getting on with the SOTA Monster. Now, the plan is now to get the SOTA Monster such that the prog rock will work on both transmit and receive. I am going to leave my beautiful old school direct conversion receiver with the Colpitts crystal-based variable oscillator. That's going to stay in there because it was lots of fun to build, and I want it to remain a part of the project. We also want to make it fully channelized and get this thing working the way I originally conceived. And then maybe later on, if it works really well, I might even scale it size-wise down and try and get it into a much smaller box. But the biggest problem with the prog rock is that cross-channel interference. So you've got 3 clocks operating on the prog rock, which is just over here in the background. And the 3 clocks are running all the time, and they're interfering with each other. Now, my mate Chris said you could probably get in and change the software. Unfortunately, the way things operate with QRP Labs, he quite rightly tries to protect his software because people just rip off what he's done, and he's out of business. So I can fully understand why that's not accessible. You can program different frequencies into it, and that's what's wonderful about it. But the clocks run all the time. But I'm sure there is ways around it. And one of the things I needed to do was, in the original configuration, this switch over here that I have over here, the clocks were running through this switch. So they were all right next to each other. There was no isolation, and that's definitely going to be a problem. So the plan is to take this metal box, probably way larger than I need it to be, but this transceiver is going to end up way larger than it needs to be. And we don't mind because, like I said, it's proof of concept. I will be using it in the field to check it out, but then we'll be trying to do stuff with the project to make it smaller. So RF shielding provided by this box. So the plan is, like in the previous video, the frequency selection switches had an issue and they were picking up RF. I'm going to make those leads shorter. They're going to go inside the metal box. I'm going to put that frequency selection switch inside the metal box. And then what I've done is I've gone to JCar and I've bought myself this 4-channel relay. Now, what's annoying about this is, and I can see that if you were a person that just started their journey in electronics and you bought this 4-channel 5-volt relay module, you might be making the really obvious assumption that it's a 5-volt relay module. Well, they do sell a 5-volt version of this, and it's got 4 channels. It hasn't got optical isolation on it. This one does have optical isolation on it, and it's the XC4440. So they make a number of different models, but it's in the wrong box. I mean, if this is a 5-volt relay module, why is it running off 12 volts? And why won't it run off 5 volts? Because it's not a 5-volt relay module, for Christ's sake. Anyway, we worked that out pretty quickly. I was also looking at other videos, and a lot of them had a situation where on the input, you drag the input to ground, and that gets us the relay operating. So unfortunately with this one, what's happening is, and I'll just show you, that is the board on. This lead I have here is connected to 5 volts, and when you touch it to the input, you will see the little light come on. So as you touch different relays, you can turn on all the different relays with the 5 volts, which sounds like it might be a problem, but it's not, because my prog rock is running off 5 volts. I have 5 volts will be living inside our enclosure here. So the relay box will go in. Now the relay box is going to switch the clocks. So the clocks are even further away from the switch. And I'm hoping that by running them through separate relays, we will actually get a situation where we reduce a lot of that cross talk from the clocks. That's the theory. Let's see if it works in practice. So it'll be clock 1, clock 2, clock 3, and I've got a relay here that I can actually play with. So not sure what I'll use that for, but I'll be able to switch something with it. So switch will have 5 volts connected to it for transmit and receive, and that will determine which relay opens or closes, feeding that signal either to the transmitter or to the receiver. Nearly forgot, I also bought this relay here. It's a 12 volt relay, and the plan is, at the moment, I have the switching for the antenna going through the back of that switch, which means there's RF coming to it. Now, we don't want the RF going in our little shielded box here. So the plan is to use this relay. It'll probably live on, I'll just show you over here. Excuse the shaky camera work. Plenty of room on this board here. It'll probably live dead bug style there. And we will transmit and receive switch via that relay. I'll determine where it goes once I've got it wired up. It might just sit in the bottom of the box too, dead bug style. But that is the plan. So lots of desoldering needs to happen now. Lots of rewiring needs to happen. And I'm hoping at the end of all this, we will have a prog rock that switches and doesn't stuff up when we switch and change transmitting frequencies. We'll have a prog rock that receives okay as well. And we'll also have a way of switching in and out that DC receiver if we want to listen to it or we don't want to listen to it. That's the plan. Time to drill. And there you have it, folks. This will be transmit, receive low, receive high. This will be our selection, and that's the prog rock mounted in the corner. Switching for the various clocks on the prog rock, and a big space here which I may be able to put something in later. But this box is for RF shielding purposes. I'll probably put an earth strap from the lid to the case here too to make sure that that's nicely earthed as well for RF. Unfortunately, no sounds. I have to do a voiceover. Thank you, Phil, VK2GBR, for answering the CQ. Had a lot of QRM at his end and QRN, but he managed to get me 229, and we had a very, very quick exchange. I don't think he got my signal report, but I got his. So thank you, Phil, for answering the call. This is the VK2 AAK SDR in Foster. Well, folks, tried to get the SOTA Monster on the slow QRS net tonight. Running 1.5 watts. Conditions aren't brilliant. Cranked up the TS520 50 watts and worked Derek VK4 DRK. and he was running 10 watts, and he gave me a 5 by 5 by 9. So not bad. Anyway, I'll show you where we're at so far with the rig and discuss where we're going. It's slowly getting there and evolving. Like any good designer, I'm telling the kids all the time that when you do a design, you're constantly evaluating. And I'm constantly evaluating and changing my mind continuously as well. Getting a little bit too excited, I guess, and jumping from one thing to another. Very deficient in attention and concentration on where I should be going, but having a damn fine time on the way. Let's go have a look at the rig. And here it is, folks, in all its glory. When we want to switch the power onto the prog rock, that switches it on and off. Center position is transmit, and that is receive either side. And these three switches here are binary switches. So when they're all off, we've got channel 0. That goes to channel 1 because that's the 1. That goes to channel 2. If we want channel 3, we go 1 plus 2. If you want channel 4, we put down 4. And you can see we're counting in binary like a true nerd. So that is the frequency control. Over here, this is the capacitor that pulls the variable crystal oscillator. We've got two ranges of frequency in the 7 megahertz band here with two paired up crystals. I can't remember what the frequency is for those crystals, but one's at the lower end of the CW band and one's higher up. This is a Colpitt's oscillator. We know that a Colpitt's oscillator uses a tapped capacitor, a pair of tapped capacitors, and that is the buffer stage for the oscillator. That's an amplifier for it, and that's then fed into this receiver, which is the Drew Diamond Little Mate receiver. So he's got a Little Mate transceiver that's 40 and 80 meters. This is the receiver section for the 40 meter section. It's using an NE602 mixer and an LM386 amplifier for the audio. And I've gone back to the larger speaker. I wasn't getting much volume out, and suddenly I realized it was just a really crappy speaker. So we've got our speaker there, and this is the transmitter, which is broadly based on VK3YE's chopping board transmitter with quite a few modifications and whatnot to do various things to it. But that is the rig as it stands. The plan is to, as you saw at the beginning of this video, the parcel has arrived. I've got a QMX, I've got a QCX kit. Can't remember where they ordered the bloody case for the QCX. I'll be disappointed if I didn't, but we'll have a look later. But I've got my prog rocks to put in to here. So now I can put the second prog rock in here so I can move forward with the SOTA Monster project. So that's what I'm going to do. Now this receiver, I've had a lot of fun with it. It's very old school. I do love it, but you will know, people that watch this channel will know that I built myself a DDS VFO that has, believe it or not, this little screen here, an analog scale, just like my TS520. And I was thinking, what better place to put this project than in the SOTA Monster? So the SOTA Monster is going to have an analog scale and a DDS VFO, and it may even be used for both transmit and receive. So I'll have a channelized section and also a fully frequency agile rig as well. And it is all going in a very, I'm just going over to the other counter. It's all going in this very tiny case. Well, it's not really tiny. You will all recognize this case from my Magic Antenna Switching Box video that's in the ham playlist. And the plan is to throw the SOTA Monster into this case and get it working as part of this case. So that is the plan. We will have a DDS VFO sitting in it. We will have all this wonderful stuff. I still don't know how I'm going to get it all in properly, but we shall see how we go with this project. I may have to change this box and make it smaller or do something with it. Time will tell. Well, that's another episode of The Art of Engineering in the can. Boy, what a week it has been. I've had plumbing problems. I've been worked to the bone and some health issues as well. One hip Both hips are sore. One is extremely sore. I think what I've done is I've overdone it in the gym, hit the rowing machine. I've been doing 7Ks each morning for about 3 or 4 mornings a week. And at the start, it felt fine. But I think I've been using muscles that I haven't used for a long time. And I think that I was really pushing myself. I kind of think I can do what I could do in my 30s when I'm now closer to 60 than 50. So I'm going to need to rethink that way of exercising and maybe ease back into it. I think I am capable of doing it, but I need to be a little bit more sensible about it. Please comment below if you've got any questions or any comments about how I can proceed with the SOTA Monster and maybe make it better. It's not going to be smaller. It's not happening. Maybe in the next derivation it will be. For the meantime, I'm making it a monster rig, but having a great time doing it. I hope you're enjoying watching the complete insanity that is the SOTA Monster. 7-3, and I will see you in the next episode of The Art of Engineering.